When she finally declared he was worth more than me, I didn't explode in anger. I didn't cry. I didn't even flinch. I just stood there, watching the woman who once whispered her deepest dreams to me in the quiet of night, now defend a man whose smile always lingered a beat too long when I wasn't looking. Apologize to him, she demanded, or we're done. Inside, something unexpected happened. Not rage, not grief, but a strange, eerie calm, like a storm suddenly extinguished. 3 years of marriage. 6 years of shared mornings and nights. We had written a life together, a song that sometimes stumbled but always found balance. Her laughter used to be the sound I trusted most. And then came him, her so-called best friend, the one who hugged too tightly, whose eyes lingered on her lips every time she spoke. At first, I buried my unease. I refused to become the jealous husband, but respect has its own scent, and is reeked of lines crossed. It wasn't one single betrayal, but a slow bleed, cut by 1,000 tiny wounds. The laptop that snapped shut when I entered. Messages that whispered, "You'll always be my safe place." A new phone lock without explanation. Matching bracelets she swore meant nothing. A hotel bill she brushed off as a mistake. I said nothing. Instead, I swallowed every injury, storing them like a bitter medicine until they formed a name I could live with. The breaking point came during an argument. I confronted him. He smirked, silent, but his silence was louder than any confession. And then she chose. She stood with him, not me. That night I left the house, the keys, the life I had poured myself into. I carried only silence, and for 4 days I wielded it like a weapon. She called. She texted. She wept at my door. I answered with nothing. Silence corrodes. It gnaws. And in desperation, people make mistakes. I began digging. A friend at her bank told me she had opened a secret account 6 months prior, already stashing away $1,800. She was planning her escape. She never expected me to leave first. So I waited. I listened. I let her twist stories to our friends, painting me as paranoid, unstable. I let them believe. Their mistakes became my leverage. His name was Jason, a realtor by trade, a snake by nature. Years earlier, we had crossed paths in a property deal, where he forged papers that bled me dry. I reported him quietly, and the board stripped his license. He never knew I was a shadow behind his downfall. And now he sat in my kitchen, eating my food, brushing against my wife. This wasn't just betrayal. It was an old debt come back to life. My first step was leverage. Her hidden account was laughably easy to crack. The password, Melody04, exactly what I expected. I screenshotted every transfer, every message, and compiled them neatly in a file I titled Loyalty. Jason was next. A friend in property law tipped me that 2 of his deals were skating dangerously close to fraud. I nudged the board with anonymous tips, then posed as a client, coaxing him into sending doctor listings. Every recorded word, every altered document, another nail in his coffin. I sent the evidence straight to his victims. By the 4th day, she was unraveling. She stood at my door, tear-stained, desperate. I let her in, listened as she begged for forgiveness, even held her trembling hand. I told her I forgave her, and then handed her the file. She flipped through the pages, screenshots, transfers, messages. Her face drained of color. I told her I wouldn't ruin her, so long as she left quietly. No alimony, no conditions, just silence. She nodded, didn't argue, and walked out. The last move was Jason. He called, spitting threats, his voice dripping with rage. I agreed to meet him at a diner. He arrived smug, radiating arrogance. I sat calm, sliding a flash drive across the table. I told him it contained proof of 12 victims, fraudulent contracts, forged signatures. When this is done, I said, you'll be lucky to sell trinkets on the street. He tried to bluster. I leaned in closer. And by the way, she was never yours. You were just a fire she used to burn herself down. Then I stood and walked away without looking back. 6 months later, she's living with her sister. Jason's license revoked again. Word is, they don't speak anymore. People ask how I stay so composed, why I don't drip with bitterness. But revenge doesn't grow from fury. It grows from clarity. And that clarity was born the moment she told me he meant more. She was right, in her way. To her, he was more. To me, he was nothing but fuel.